with Donald Trump says he's going to, well, not Donald Trump, he hasn't said it yet, but 3 different people within Trump world have leaked to or have gone to Axios, who published this breathless story this morning. November 14th is the day that Donald Trump is going to announce he's running for president again. By coincidence, that's probably the time period, that's probably the week, that'll be about the time that the elections are all decided finally, and after the court challenges and everything else. That's probably when the Department of Justice is going to start dropping indictments against Donald Trump and people around him. And he's hoping, I believe, that he can get his announcement out before the indictments come so that his being a candidate for president, he thinks will help him. Actually, what it might do is it might cause the Department of Justice and the White House to decide that they really need to put this at arm's length and appoint a special prosecutor. And if they do that, I have 2 words for Donald Trump and his campaign: Ken Starr. But all that said, if Donald Trump is running for president again, you know what we are going to see. This country is going to become meaner. It's going to become more violent. You're going to see more road rage. You're going to see more guns. You're going to see more racists out and about. We are, as a country, going to become more callous to helping other humans. And all of our social safety nets will be challenged. Now, feel free to add to this list if you have thoughts on Trump running for president, but that's my list so far, and I'm fairly confident in that list because we've seen it all already. This is exactly what we saw happen during the 5 years that Donald Trump was running for president and was president. All those things happened, all those things increased, and we're suffering the consequences of it right now. In addition, one of the things I mentioned was racism. I think it's really important to focus on this, to hone in on this. There was just a remarkable story on Cause Net Effect retweeted this. This is an old clip. I played this years ago on this program, and my apologies for not recalling the name of the woman who is issuing the warning here. That's on me. I tried to track it down this morning. It was, her last name is Elliott. But in fact, I may be able to, no, it's not showing. But this is Ms. Elliott warning us of actually why the Republicans have been so outspoken in opposing abortion rights. Listen to this.
Now, white people are really frightened. If you don't understand the destruction of Planned Parenthood offices, and you don't understand the wall that we're going to build on the southern border of the United States, you haven't read the book, The Birthderg. Ben Wattenberg was a brilliant Jewish man who was a member of the American Enterprise Institute, and he wrote a book, the first paragraph of which says, the main problem confronting the United States today is there aren't enough white babies being born in this country. He was an advisor to presidents of the United States. He wrote the book in 1987. He says if we don't change this and change it rapidly, white people will lose their numerical majority in this country, and this will no longer be a white man's land. Now, I'm not misrepresenting this. I'm telling you almost exactly what he says. He says there are 3 things we can do to solve this. Number 1, we could pay women to have babies, as they have been doing in Western European nations for years. Then he says, and these are his words, not mine, unfortunately, we would have to pay women of all colors to have babies, so we don't want to do that. He says the second thing we could do is increase the number of legal immigrants that are allowed into this country every year. Then once again, he says, unfortunately, the vast majority of those wanting to come to this country today are people of color, so we don't want to do that. The third thing he says, and white women had better pay attention to this, 60% of the fetuses that are aborted every year are white. If we could keep that 60% alive, that would solve our birth dearth. Does that sound like racism to you? And if it doesn't, I want to know why it doesn't. If it doesn't, you don't understand what racism is. And I think it does. Right now.
There you go. God bless you, Ms. Elliott. And so, this is where we're at. And now we've got Stephen Miller out there running ads from America First Legal. This is America First. This is one of these groups that has been started, I believe, with money from Donald Trump, certainly aligned with Donald Trump. Stephen Miller, of course, worked for Donald Trump, is, I believe, still writing speeches for him. I may be wrong. But they're running an ad right now that is breathtaking. It reminds me of ads and politicians that I was hearing back in the 1970s when the Republican Party was first really successfully testing out their racist, their newly invented racism, right? I mean, before 64, the Republican Party was not so explicitly racist. That was mostly the Dixiecrats, the Southern Democrats. But after 64, 65, as I talked about here on this program a few days ago with the Goldwater campaign, they just doubled down on racism. Well, this is an ad that is running now. This is from Stephen Miller.
Racism against white people become okay. Joe Biden put white people last in line for COVID relief funds. Kamala Harris said disaster aid should go to non-white citizens first. Liberal politicians block access to medicine based on skin color. Progressive corporations, airlines, universities all openly discriminate against white Americans. Racism is always wrong. The left's anti-white bigotry must stop. We are all entitled to equal treatment under law. America First Legal paid for this ad.
So there you go. This, obviously, much of that is just BS. But this is their narrative. White people, look out. Black people and brown people are coming for you. And by the way, we got to stop all those white women from having abortions because we need more white babies. If Donald Trump runs for president again, well, even if he doesn't, expect to see more of this because he made it acceptable in the United States to be openly racist. Just to put it right out there and say, yes, this is what we're all about. This is what the GOP is now, is the party of white grievance. So what do you think is going to happen if Trump declares that he's running for president? Will it have that much impact? Or is the die already cast?